I finally got a chance to watch The Iron Claw, so let's review. But before I get into the review, can we take a moment to acknowledge how unrecognizably in shape this motherfucker Zac Efron is in? Like, goddamn, he looks like a whole He-Man action figure. Jesus. Like, bro. So The Iron Claw is based on a true story about the Von Erich family. They're a family within wrestling royalty, and it's just really about how tragedy after tragedy just plagues this family, and it is centered around these group of brothers that are under the tutelage of the father. And we see how all these tragedies affects the family both mentally and physically. Now, the general consensus around this movie is a lot of people's favorite of last year, but particularly everyone was talking about how great Zac Efron is in the film, but everyone was also talking about how depressing this film is at times. And I'm here to report that those are all things that I agree with, because this really is a depressing ass movie that is based on a true story about this family that is trying to be great within the wrestling world and stay together as a family, but life and tragedies just wouldn't allow it. But I really like this film because it's more so about the family, and wrestling is just secondary. Zac Efron plays Kevin Von Erich, and he's really the audience character that we follow. I already mentioned how in shape he is in this movie and how unrecognizable he looks. Jesus. But he's kind of the more quiet and timid one, and he sees what is happening to his family, and he's even trying to plead with his mother, like, just do something, and she's just become desensitized with the whole thing. But this is, without a doubt, Zac Efron's best performance, and I'm mad that he didn't get nominated for an Oscar for this movie. I don't know, maybe the Academy still has High School Musical on the brain for whatever reason, which isn't fair, but that's okay, because you don't need an award to tell you that you're great, because Zac Efron, this is his best performance, and I hope he continues down this path. Lily James played his girlfriend slash eventual wife in this movie, and she's kind of the rock for Zac Efron's character to lean on to. And you believe the relationship, and you believe how they came together. But let's talk about the father, because he's the real problem within this family and why this film just keeps going through tragedies, because he's a former wrestler, and so he never really got his shot, so he's just pushing those dreams on to his sons, basically living through his sons, trying to get what he never got. And he pushes them to the point, both musically and physically, and he even says some shit where, like, I told you, with all my sons, these are the rankings. It's this person, and this person, but the rankings can always change. And when you see that, you're like, I don't think that's particularly healthy, and you don't know what that is doing to your sons mentally. Jeremy Allen White, hot off of Shameless and The Bear, which I still have not watched yet. I'm going to get to it eventually. But Jeremy Allen White, he was always good in anything I saw him in, and this is definitely where he put his foot in for the performance here. And he plays one of the sons, one of the youngest sons at that, and he was trying to get into the Olympics, and that didn't happen. And so he goes home and tells his dad, and he's like, all right, what's next? And so his dad gets him into wrestling, and he pushes himself too hard to the point where, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you probably know all the story, but we all know what happens to him, and it is just tragic. It's really tragic what happens to all the brothers, because, spoiler alert, Zac Efron's Kevin Von Erich, he is the last brother remaining. And once he's the last brother remaining and he's talking to his sons, you can really tell, like, that really hurt him, and he's just trying his best not to do what his father did. The performances from some of the other brothers were also excellent, and anytime you saw them on screen, and you were just scared for them because you don't know what was going to happen to them, or you don't know what they were going to do to themselves. The mother in this movie is played by Maura Tierney, who I've seen in other things, particularly Insomnia, but then I see her here, and this is probably one of the better performances I've ever seen her in, because as I said earlier, she married into this family, and she's just synthesized into all the bullshit that's going on in this family, and she clearly sees what's happening, but she just doesn't want to deal with it. I really like this film. This is definitely one of my favorites of last year, now that I've finally seen it. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a wrestling fan, and it's definitely worth watching just for Zac Efron's performance alone. The Iron Claw easily gets the hard eyes emoji.